Hey, ek awe ich sa tini te kat Johan. Ja, kleert ge awe ich akawuz ach tuwáa sigóo. Khati sa kai. Da sawe tuwáa sigóo ya táakw. Yis táakw aya. Gwallis at tuwáa sigóo. Ye awe ade yuch agach tutla ati ya yagi ya khana. Ach tu yek uch khanach tuta ati ya hayuch ʼatángi. At gach tutla yech. Ya khan tlak awe we naski gi khana. Ye na teach aya hayejne hayuch ʼatángi tuwáa sigóo. An aya yuchatitla atki. Aka awe keguchlatzin hatut aya ashil kohas yuchatángi. Yiguayach one takat Johan. Ya yidatach tuwáa sigóo yisachwa achi. Yawa ach ide gwal kagachinik dasai tuwáa sigóo. Ya táakw. Ya awe 10,000 katlech aya. Awak disi yidu sakaya ya dis. Wash jinkat ka tlech ga awech wasatin dak uwada wekiz. Ye awe wash hechosaku dis klein ade gwati hechosaku. Ye awe ach tuwáa sigóo cho achi dasa I chais ya táakw. Yet dat chosaku ya dakka ka Tlingit Tlingit we ya klein kutzati hak ka achachais aya kelkusti awa we aya akatchat se akwasa do sak we border akanach adat aya kakwashi ya khana keishi aya du tla dasa
ach tuwáa sigóo border gach tu sa hesh kusti at
awa haani awa eka Tlingit ani anach sawe hasaka shihit ani kach guchsa hat hasti tuwáa sigóo kutu u Khat ka we dakka ye khat na teach we kutan. Ye we ach tuwáa sigóo ka wuchin ye jituni. Ya edat ka echt ide yekt. Ye we ka achal chais we khushik nik. Ya hakudach aya kak good. But we nak the kat hatut aya gwash Gachtut sak, ye awe ach tuwáa sigóo, takat Johan. Ya ach tuwáa sigóo tsu. Ya takat Johan yi ka helwasa yi uti. Ya yi tundatani ka yi da it. Ye awe ach chais ya táakw. Ye awe ach tuwáa sigóo. Gulchish.
Angu.
Ekwati.
Way Mounties, Atskani.
Kaksakach shahit.
Ach tuwáa sigóo Japan de kuchwatini. Kachwa Japanese ʼatángi stuchel tu kunach lidzi ye awe.
Yek ye awe ka North America, Tesla dachaya kuchwatin. Ya achiet kitzu. Achat khan yechat yan nasqech gudesa gachtu daqin chakut ani achtu asagu tusatini. Khatcha yekwati. Ach kautlachet chaye gugen qa achtu asagu. Hast ani khasatini zu. Yek echa. Saki kakki de shuk.
Wat gaat?
Achayi
Gwas ugu kune at ach de si su wush hude gachtu da adi away kawe Tlingit ʼatángi wuchin datu wut brooks brook deslin kayach
Yak ye awa achtu asakutsu. Wasak ausaguwan aya wuchin khasati. Wegao. Ja, das adatu tuchte tanzu. Ja, achshat. Ye awa kauchlenik. Ja, dech tag shua hi hin gwashe ach hawutien. Ye tech yiskao khasatin. We shawat. Ya gwall de kegu aya unik achawe we an du ite de shi ya khaseko at de jiwu de shutut ai ye awa khat khewus khat wuhu khitu agesagu ha in aya I khai we khana at khai kelkdin ach tuasagu en qoa tis ye de khanech ja, de kat je gich anache achet with de chet. Ach tu as se kuko achet tla ani. De oe ach liel ko has ach I has outle tun. Gosh iwu ich a dekak gigut. A joe de in kachunik. Hech wasa ya ke gunel cheese. Hech wasa kuho ko achet de chuch. Has du neeli a ya yichwa good. Ye oe. Yis we judachnach tled chachasati, keltis lindach. Ye awe Kate has the Jew, Klaus Kate, awe. Ye awe has ausenech, we Kate, what we Kate, Kayes hitti dach, echosaku was that do sak tled chachinach rescue dach. One canins has Klaus, ye awe Klaus, so has to Kately. Ye awe chan has a kawani we deslin ko ha I has outlet too. Got haslak ach ayawe we katki kaye yeti. Ye kesh hatwa ashko ha Kately, haslak ach hant ugudi. A joe yata aya a day ha Kately aya do igach tusla too, yeah. We haslak ach hawu. Aka ha Kately aya ye awe gach tu chuch haku Kate sanich hatu asagu sanich aya we khallak achhaw aka tu sha aya gach tu tak Kate chaw team ya Kate aya agursaku get ni klein kwash khanach away agach tu tune agach tuni away we khallak ach Akachan has a kaunik. Ya yitata ya. Ye yo tu sakai. Chaslak ach. Glad kach enach. Akatel chaslak ach chandik kwagut hakately. Chatro ha yak Ye awe has wuchuch has to kately. Clark ko at the chande wushi. Gwall Kate at chak isani. To one kaya chaslak ach chawu. Ye u jean. Atcha aya has dich echt gekwati. Atjoe táakw sich. Chacht dak yes ausne. Ade has awa takye. Kate aya akagedi wu sich. Kunachoe has outlet chuna has to Kately. Kunachoe a coutle sigóo. Yisuku and Ganins has to shuk yanik has to tuwáa outlet sigóo. Aga away katam. Klesh Dane ayachi gakwati. Itchaya at wutua art kachasak atrutu satin. Ye awe kone ye yawaka gled kak inach. Chasak ach kushdeach ko awasa shagao den ye yawaka ye has to Kately or chasak ach gawu good. Chatra ach tuwáa kunacho e choshuku. Tlach to Oshko as the two unique just at Hoshetin. A car away, way Kate, a car our shot, I had the Kately. Hesakachkoa, Gush the Kate, we Kate, a ach a couch, a Kate, Tlach to Oshko, a Joachim get Renach, do Inuch Achwatan. A day Hanayu. We Kate sa us, utusaku, in Nelly aya yag, wasa achtu yike satini huni, wasa achtu yike. Yata yach away, do sha. Two aya kinde away to cook a trade to tuwáa our achi Tlingit. Ye away, cheese. Atisatsu yu kakwata.
tuwáa celebration yan kaguch the yaye ya táakw.
Atsu, tlach konach away, ach tuwáa wuch in atutl echi, kaha at shik aya tuwáa. Wasa hatu aushik at our celebration. A klein ku ti. Yewe ka iqachat pushatish. Te kleinach away ye hat yeti wa ach in ag kunach away haschasachan. Ya ach tuwáa just a good ku teen yuch the tani. Ye awa ach tu yake. We nig llushke nig klesh ulsin ya yidat ya ane kag ya ach tuwáa konach a klein ku we kega hit ye ti ha el cheese
What to ash kushe Seattle Day. Wada tani akyi ye kakwasatin. At audishi kuake. Tuwáa yukande kakwakuch ka ahuni ye has kakwagak.
yuk ye awa chatsu ach tuwáa ya kwash kek talk shu kichen Seattle ke hawti ya ka khoshatu and Tlingit you itcha we Whistler a de to a koch ka jaji ka tuwáa ya yet a chat teshas aus kuan a de yanduski and ya chat coach a ye again khosaku ya wasak ausaku kawasa wuke ya Seattle atlain at kutzatitsu what he tuwáa at yitlehuni ya atlain we hundaka hilti kutzati Trader Joe, you do a sago. Ach tu yike, a yike hat yati. Ya hayat ki kanachoy has to twasaku. Ka isitin ya as. Ya the cut with talk, achu we katu was achu ya do twasaku. Ya sinash the cut hit ye kachata sa Christmas, yes. Khatcha Scrooge yachat yati ba humbug yachye and cage. A joyach tu kesial ke hauti and kesh as kesh das. Okay, achet ki achshatin yejechene koa way Christmas da. Yeah, you that koa dusa.
Chatsa at A'atángi, Colorado Day, Kukwatini Achanatin, Ye Akachlach, Ches, Ye Gachtu Gak, Hasi, Kunach Dukach Haulitis.
Yak yeah, yeah, on Kadan, Colorado. Okay, Hawutian, Hatka Achshat. Yeah, Keg talk anach aya, just how whoosh with the shy, adach, Yewa Hatuasagu. We Keg anniversary, you do a sago at Okay, Hawutian. Katua Ak, Yewa Hatun the time. Oh, Colorado, what just shakich a atgach to art. Yak kekwak Clegg, wait the sale konach away kesh ach keku to yewutin. Kacha akaya atwaguti, kesh a day unchaseko yekoa. Shitzi konach. Yeah, achat koa just at táakw at hugud. Yeah, yana yi klein hajiu. Yeah, awe wutusa kudsa. One kanins we at gatu khashasha kik at wutua adi yag Tlingit kug wutusa ku we yatsinate kutsati. Goshas aya gachtusatin. Ajawe yanha wune. Yes, the cut yech aya katuatini. Ye awa watua ach we what's that do a sock? We was aya a dachaya kwagut het watusakuta sakoa. Just we ye awa would do a ach. Ha, that's actually khana aya ye wutin. Koneke u chuk day, chuk ra ya do han. Akawe yiska at wukut we at katudach. Heshwasa gay uti. Chade hane. Ye would to a gene hoots hisiti. What has the aneko arts chayegu genk kutsiti? We hoots. Has the anekha had the douche kutsiti. What had the gucci? You do a saga. Had the Kuchi played Kachinach mountain lion. Yeah, has to on a kayewuti. Yeah, I played the Hina Yahosatin with Hoya the High. Dachnach we Kuatlatu. Judachnach Shawat Shukwa Ya Achyet Kitin Atwatua art we Rocky Mountains. Hatuasaku Hasausatini. Ayuk koa the cut or gut ya kleinach ach yedi we had the gucci. Kehwa ich a we park ranger ka aya kuchwashi yishan ach yedi. Wait, khatqa ha the ko atlatu hisati one nach so we do nakhishi. Wait, jakut a ko atlatu koa wasashitzin. Tishugu atwatu art yachatka achyetki. Kleinach du cut or gut we hatakuchi. Akakone yawa gwash we hatakuchi ka adakushi. Katra ayach away. Ya ku atlatu hisati. Achtuasagu we adadki. Kadeen yisatini. Ya away bilchish. Adusa.
Go
ahead. Okay. Kukwa Sister Kat Uhan, Yatak at Aftushi, Ha Tlingit ʼatángi, Gach to Hiji, Teach Dane Kagach to Ak.
Yak awa akayu ʼatángi. Achtu asagu, awa kapyaki aya yejin to niche. Wuch in kahayu ʼatángi teen. Akawe chetsidin aya yukagachtil art wuch in. Yawa yakeha galchish. Atusatsu.
Kat sewa huk dot ha homework ko Katsu achtuasigu at kakwatin just I don't know anywhere wasa aduaka
Chaguksa. Yawa Klaidahin aya Yakudad hawutian. Hayuk ʼatángi dat. Ach hawuti. Gwash 10,000 kajin katcha kejin. Yidu asak with táakw. Wuk sit ak yidu asak. Hasta ani. Ach aya atlein hitkisani kutzati. Kesh ayik aya haskua Tis krutan aya we atkan ani. Yidu asak atkan ani. It's a hit. It's a hit. Atlein hwasta hit. Has outlayech you. Akaya yeje tune. Akaya ye wuti. Achkwe. Ka kasech. Ka wishchichu ish. Ke hinak. Ka kashat. Atisatsu. Ye awaha inyuk ewatan. Katrat sewa. Akre has wuti in ko Wash to ish. Das de ya. Wash akre wuti Ye we Klaidahin. We yakudat aya. We genwadki. Ye awa ha'in yu haskausha atk. A itcha. Wishchichu ish. Ye four-wheeler aya. A kade aya wudahan. A ka aya. A katwunuk. Chasaku kone adachwu kuch. A joy ye yaksaka. So ye a kwasatin. Ye away chat yaksaka ko Chagursa aka adachwu kuch. Konach away wuke. Ade yuke watani ye. Ye wa chatse achtuasaku. Wash talum adegach kogach to dakin. Ye wa kagach to ak. He kwasaku asa atkakone. Ko one qanins hatuasaku chakut ani khas utusatini. Khalkha chaklako achtuasku Hawaii ke khatuti. Ya akshatka akhyatki isa tatuasaku utusatini. Khalkha ha Gwashe. Adu itsaku ha. Kleinach, dachnach, naskinach. Gwarsta koninach. Klesh. Ye kleshis sachwaach yachana. Hechwa sakka kwaticha. Just cut to a arc.
Nee. Gataya.
Sheesh.
Gewoon es oes sata gwall kushe oes sita kukwa ausita.
Yetai hina yiktika.
Kunachsi ata.
Oh yeah, what?
Es oes ausita kukwata. When summer comes, maybe they'll walk kushe. They might warm up.
Yeah, what? Gosh, isaku yata. Saat. Ausaat. Khatsewaat.
Khatsewa.
Us. Woodzeat.
Oes
Woodzeat.
Woodzeat kunchish.
Keha.
Oes.
Neshi tili etinach eti.
Neshi tili tsu.
Khataya. Wait. Atlein ataya achna ati cha achnechi tili. We wanna do how wutin wudutliech. Yaki.
Kunachsi. I told you. Kunchish.
You go have one.
I was thinking of kutan tsu, so I'll go. Ye kunach aguk dagan kutan aya kawush kanach uhan wudat. I think that's right. I hope for a really hot summer and we all gather together.
Yeah, yak echatsu ach to asagu. Just talk. Just see you, just clucky. Gwash at your way, ach to asagu, see you daku satani. You that's ko Gwash nach away, nach away, ach to asagu, udagani. Kutan ach to asagu, kudach yak etsu. Talk iti away, clear talk, where yak ayachwa u, shukwa yak ayachie utin. A joy gwashach to a sakku, kekukwa kei, aka atgach to kuch, gwash hunade, gwash deshu, ye awe hatu a tea. Gonna cheese, a kecha.
Sigóo clashish táakw.
Yeah, well. What naskinach aya tleshi sachwa ach yachana. You to a guess a good kaya ako kekwak e. Huchaga. Okay. Gonna cheese, Johan. Yeah, okay. Ach tu, okay, konachoi. Yisachwa achi. Yeah, we just kagach to ak. Hayuk ʼatángi atch to leyechi. Agawe kegachlitzin. Atut. Yeah, stakatu han, gwashatu asako at kututini. Yeah, quarantine, Jakone ya neshi ye natiji awe kone awahich. Adati tuchtatan. Hethwasa. Ach tu yak just neshi at khakin at khonugo. Yeah, what take talk and ach tinditani chakut yeti. De away to us a good, just the cut yeti ayakhatini. Yeah, away you go I one the cut you hand, what shake what tea. Yeah, you that ach to us a good way immersion phrases that yejituni. Yeah, yak that aya has to eat ayakach shit. We achkwe ka natski ish. Achawe kodne aya adati hasjunein. Ya master apprentice program you do a sako at. Ye awe adati jechwane yayagi. We kuk aya achtua sagu kakachtishatini. Kakautua ach. We dasa aya watu. Ki nach aya yuk ewatan. Je gleit graag enig at ujach yeti lekat at achtua sagu kainigi aga gleit jach kwati we krug we yuchatang aya egach tu satin konne aya ya kohi ay dat kuchsakwa akakhashi. Oops. Okay. Yeah, do oops, chat to Tina Khayati. Yeah, do yeah, nachige. Klistidena ge gachi tu. Yata. Okay. Adusadu tuwasagu kinach itu kinach awatu akakia ak we akakkinigi akwashi ide kakkunik le kakkinach. Who wants to read it out loud and tell us the translation? We'll play guess the translation. Uchachiti yakuk khan kanik dasawi ye g glet kak inach aka glet yak kwati.
Was had kwa tsuya kakasanig. It's like kakasnig. It's like some tell it again or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Or say it.
Yeah, do poof. Achkoi edach aya wait Gwash achaway ya sukanashnik tell the story again. Su yakakashnik, keep telling the story.
So it's because it's got the ya, is that right? It's progressive.
The ya and the qa are doing something there. I'll have to look at. This was quite a few years ago. So as I sort of revisited this, there's a bunch of stuff I'll probably chat with some folks about. But yeah, that's how she said. And this was a lot of fun. It was really Achkwe, Lena Farkas and Natsuki Ish, Ted Valley, and they were having and then we kept thinking of phrases that would be helpful, and then they thought of a bunch of other stuff. So Yataka desadu tuwasagu awatu.
What? Wasaku. I know it.
Okay, oops, there. Yeah, it should be on there. Yeah, well. Goodness, cheese. Okay. Itcha, desadu tuwasagu.
That's wasaku. I don't know.
Yeah, wow. And that should also have an it on there. Yeah, wow. And just things to keep in mind, like, so the classifier goes minus I, and the stem is short and high. So how would you say they, singular they, know it?
Awasiku?
Close, close. It's got to be a little bit of contraction.
Ausiku?
Ausiku. Ausiku.
Ausiku.
And how about singular they don't know?
Tuwáa.
Yeah, away. So we've got to get that shape of the prefix to go was k, right? And so the vowel gets knocked out. That's one that I hear a lot of people, and I'll even do it myself. It's just so easy to say ausiku, but it should be awasku. And so how the prefix and the vowel is changing. Okay. Itia.
I don't understand.
Yeah, well, I don't understand. And so as far as immersion goes, those are two different things, right? I've been scolded before because somebody said something to me and I said, and they said, do you not know or do you not understand? I said, I don't understand. And then I got bawled out, you know. But I'm not gonna bawl anybody out. Okay, you okay? Itia. If you haven't read yet, go ahead and give it a try.
Tuwáa. Sorry. Tuwáa.
Okay.
I don't know what that means though.
Okay. Anybody? Do iti dishi.
Take a break. Let's have a break.
Yeah. Oh, let's rest. Let's have a break. So this is, and we're just, so the idea was when we were shifting, we were trying to really get people to shift to this master apprentice model. Because when we first started trying master apprentice things, like basically the elders would just think of what would a teacher do and start teaching them. But really we're just trying to say, just live with the language. And so we were trying to think of a bunch of phrases like, you know, your brain gets really tired when you're first starting to do language immersions, like your brain just gets really tired. Same with doing translation work. Itia.
Or what? Is that enough?
Yeah, away. That's enough. Knock it off. Stop it. Yeah. So just remember, like this one. There's a lot you can do with teasing. You could use it quite a bit with kids and dogs and people lower than you on the kinship tree. But this is not a phrase that goes up to the higher levels, right? And this is also, if someone's given like some sort of speech or something, never say this. And just like as far as cultural protocols go, unless it's teasing, we all understand it's teasing. But yeah, it's kind of like a knock it off type of thing. Stop it. That's enough.
Can you like interchange? Is that interchangeable with like hooch, like for kids and stuff?
Hooch away is like really like it's all gone. Right.
Okay.
So they can be close, but day away is more along the lines of knock it off, and hooch away is like it's done. Like sort of like someone that's like, I want more pancakes. Hooch away. They're all gone. And so they are a little bit different. But sometimes I do hear them. And then I guess there's another one that we should put in here, which is, I was going to mess up my formatting. But ishi. And what does ishi mean?
Stop.
Yeah. stop. So, stop whatever you're doing, stop it. Whatever you're doing, stop it. There's a kind of from the same type of place. So these, we use exclamation points just to show it's some sort of command. What about ʼitlits'e or tlits'e?
That's enough? Or
not quite.
Oh no, just wait. Just wait. Just wait.
Yep.
Okay.
So this one, it's, again, sometimes you need, if you're dealing with kids, like sometimes you need to say something real quick, like you're teaching on a Zoom meeting and they come to ask you something, right? Right? And so it just, but I've heard this as well. Like there was some cultural ceremony. I was like, I gotta go. It's time for, I had this other thing planned, but and someone said, I was like, okay, cancel the other thing, right? And then, what about this one? Oops.
Stop.
Yeah, so this could be, it could mean to be still as well, but this is how, like, well, I was in a dance group and we're like, okay, let's do this song and this song. They sound so similar. Wouldn't it be fun to sing them one right after another? I was like, sure. And then, at a previous performance, we had said we're gonna sing like song A and song B sound very similar. And we stood up in front of the people and said, we're gonna sing song A. And then we sang song B and we never stopped ourselves. When we got backstage, I said, if we do that again, we gotta stop because we can't introduce a song and then sing a different song, even if they sound similar. The very next performance, they're like, okay, we're gonna do song B, and we started singing song A. And so I just looked at the group and said, Tlingit. And and so that just means stop. That could be stop driving, stop. It really means like to kind of be still. Like you could say, be still. But just saying this as a command, it means it's usually like stop some sort of thing. Like whatever they're doing, stop that thing and be still. Little different than ʼitli. Like ʼitli is like, it works really well. Like kid's gonna like grab something and you could just really quickly say, don't, right? Okay.
When telling like a dog to stay, would you use tlits'e or tlingit? Tlits'e, to wait, okay.
I might tell my kids to tlingit, yeah. And then similar to this, you could say ach. What about that one? Ach iqa tliyeye inati. Anybody know what that one would be?
Like stop, wait for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like wait, be still and wait for me. And so there's this iqa thing could be used for a bunch of different things. Like basically there's gonna be plié or sit or stand, right? Like let's say also we're somewhere and someone's like, well, I'm gonna run in here real quick, and I might say, I'll just wait here for you. But that's usually the iqa, and then some sort of the tliyayati, or I could say, ach iqaqanu, ya, sit here and wait for me, right? And so this, again, works really well for kids and dogs. If you're talking to adults, like for whatever reason, like then you would probably use like some sort of gwash tuwáa kliye iti ach iqa ya. Do you want to maybe wait here for me? Just some general politeness things sort of come in. Okay.
So you wouldn't say, wait for me to a friend?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might need this one.
Yeah. Ach, iqa tliyeye inati. Just wait for me. Because, yeah, and that works. Then some of these phrases work really well, like on the phone, too. You know, someone for this Tlingit conversation. Go tuwáa, ga it go away in the teach. Okay, chat yeti. Let's Tliyeye inati ach iqa. You gotta know how to. If we're gonna argue sometimes, so we gotta be able to do it in Tlingit. It's not gonna start a war. Okay, next one, or other questions? Ask any questions you got, if you other things you're thinking of, because we're gonna build this list and then I'll put it up on our page.
Well, we've been saying hooch at the end if we're done talking.
Yeah, that works fine.
Okay, but you don't say hooch away.
No, you can just say hooch, and then
Hooch
the other way
like I'm done.
Yeah, hooch just means like it's over.
Okay.
And then same thing. There's like, so hooch it's so interesting too, because like you can say hooch and that's sort of a command for like end it, get it to the end. Especially like if there's some song, like especially we're singing one of those songs that just repeats, and we're on like the millionth time because we're just jamming out. But then someone might yell hooch and that means bring it to the end, basically. So it does work as a command in that form. Again, you don't want to say that somebody's publicly speaking. And then, yeah, the other thing I've heard is Nora, she used to say, that's the size of my speech. And then you knew she was done. And a hooch is probably another, it's a good way, like, because the other thing is like, if you're going to speak Tlingit, how do you get off the phone with somebody without switching to English? Hooch. And then you just hang up. It doesn't matter. We just come to that. Because then you're like, he just hung up on me, right? And we just get over that. But no, it was done. And then hoochage is also, you can ask it as a question. Hoochage, is it done? And that could be used for a whole bunch of things, right? Like we're eating some yummy food and I want more. Hoochage? Oh, click. What do you do? Oh. Or if there's like, if I'm wondering, is it over? Did it end? And then hooch can also be used in the context of, like, say you're telling a story. Ka'akw we hoots teen ayakushagawu. Kahooch. He tried to fight with a bear and that's it. He done. Right. So it could mean like somebody died, right? They use that, but it's interesting. They when you listen to old timers when they're telling a story, they just say hooch all the time. It didn't mean anything. It just like, oh, that was that. And then they would move on to the next thing, right?
So it means pow.
Yes, it's pow.
Okay.
Because yeah, when it was in Hawaii, I was like, we pow? We're like, well, we're not, well, you know. Yeah, so we're done. Hoochake hayechine. Is our work done? Like.
Never.
So those like short, quick phrases that you would only use toward children and animals and stuff like that. Can you also use them to, I don't know, like elders, like in situations of like danger, you know, like when you stop them from like running into the street or whatever, if they didn't hear a car coming, like, I don't know. I'm just
yeah. And it's not like you can never use them, but you just have to be more cautious. Just like in English, right? Like you can tell grandma don't. You just make sure you know what you're doing, or else you can get that wooden spoon broken on you, right? So, but it's just that kind of thing. And it's also like, how well do you know somebody? If you know them really well, then there's a whole bunch of stuff you could say. And then, but if other people can hear you and they're your opposite clan, then it starts to get into some other territory where you got to be a little bit more careful. But it's sort of the thing, like if it's someone you know really well and there's no one else around, sky's the limit a lot of times. Like there's a bunch of stuff you could say and do. But if other people can hear you, then you don't want to have them say, they just talk any old way, right? But yeah, and for your friends and stuff, yeah, there's all, you can tell them day away and all kinds of stuff.
I definitely want to normalize saying hooch at the end of a phone call. I feel like I want to throw off some of my colleagues.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Hoocha, and then you just hang up.
It's happening.
Okay. All right, next one.
Tad get away udigon nich yon tu adi. I think that's like yesterday. It was sunny when we were on the beach, walking on the beach. Oh, I skipped one. I'm sorry.
That's fine. You still got it right. It was sunny, yeah, when we were walking on the beach. Yeah, well. Okay. So the udigon is, that might be kind of a Yakutat thing. I know there's times where it could go udigani, like when it is sun shining, because the Irialis is gonna push its way in there. And that's gonna shift it. But there's some other thing that's going on where Yakutat speakers, your udigon is something that I would say sometimes kind of regularly. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, going back one. Someone want to read that?
Ach in shkanach shkanachnig. Is that like tell me the story again?
Not again.
Or tell me again. Oh,
yeah. Tell me the story. So yeah, there's a couple of things. One, this is another one of those verbs where there's a plus D version, which means telling stories. Then there's a regular, just a L. So if you said ach in kan ach in, what am I doing? Kanashanik. So then in that case, it's not plus D, and that means tell me the story of it, right? So there's one, so I could say, shkachtlanik, I told the story of it. And then I could say, shkachtlenik, I told stories.
Well, what is achin kananik? Just tell me. Is that even a word? Did I remember that wrong?
Can someone help us? Let's put it on there and have someone.
There's a sentence with it, like 2 sentences down.
Oh yeah. So
so
we'll put it right above there, so it's kind of close. So achin. Let's change it. Oh, there's nothing. We have to translate this one. Somebody help me remember.
Is it?
How would you translate that?
Tell me? No?
Yeah. So I would probably say tell it to, because there's an it there.
Okay.
So this one is information, news, gossip. And then when the L classifier comes in, now it's a story, usually, but it could be preaching or this one's a little bit, it's not as clear all the time, but usually the L is a story, the 0 is news or information, right? And so sometimes I've always got to keep thinking of like, when should I be saying, ye yawaka, ye ayausaka, and a kawanik and a kaushanik. But really what it comes down to is ye yawaka, they said these were, I'm going to quote them. To quote Hitler, which you should never do, right? But to quote Martin Luther King, right? And then ye ayausaka, they said this exact thing to this person. So that's what that S classifier does. It adds an object and an S classifier, said it to someone. So this is the one, there's just a little bit of whether you should say ʼatángi kawanik or chat yausaka, ye chat yausaka. Ye chat yausaka would be, then they said this exact thing to me. ʼatángi kawanik, they told me this information or news or gossip. And ʼatángi kawanik, they told me the story of it. So that's going to be the difference between those three. And I'll type up some notes so that we can look at it probably next week. Right?
And tuwáa is really handy.
Yeah, tuwáa is say it again, that same thing. Okay. Okay. So now let's go up one. Oh, here we are right here. Anybody not read yet?
Dasa tuwáa sigóo in ʼatángi.
Jeez. I'll put a tone.
What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, oh, well. Yeah, oh, well. What do you want me to tell you? So again, there's information there, right? That's what the neek, that's why neek is news or gossip. Okay, next one.
Tlishugu atchan kananik. Tell me something funny.
Yeah, oh, wow. Tell me something, so just some funny thing, right? He said, when I was young, I used to look at these old people and think, gee, they're just going around trying to find someone to laugh with. It's like, now that I'm old, I'm just going around trying to find someone to laugh with. So, good stuff. And so the ʼatángi and chan are interchangeable. It's just a contrast. It's like cannot and can't. And so that one is low, chan. A'it and chat with a high tone are also interchangeable. Next one. Oh, okay.
And what? So
I'll put this one in here. So a'in can become chan. And so that's technically with me, right? And then a'it can become chat, and that's to me, right? At me, I don't know, I guess, is that what we do? Now that it's like a Twitter culture thing. So chat edeshe, you could say that. Or you could say a'it edeshe. It's not a right or wrong thing. It's just do you say cannot or can't? It's up to you. Okay, next one. Almost everybody's read, so if we want to just open it back up, let's keep it going.
That'd be let's tell each other stories, something like that.
Which inch kanach. So now we've gotten into a hortative. Let's tell stories, right, to each other, right? And so we could certainly put that in there because it's in there with the Tlingit. But this would be let's tell stories, right? Wuch in shkanach.
I feel like I've never seen an L after an X before.
Yeah, so
and I'm like really struggling over here.
So sometimes it goes the other way too. So you can have this as a word, shanash, and it go, that's a big journey going from the L to the X, the X to the L. That word means wealthy. So yeah, kanachtush. Oh wait, no, there is no L there. What am I doing?
Oh man, you had me going.
Uch inch kanachtushnik. Yeah. Sheesh.
That's mean.
Yeah, I should find a word that has it now. Maybe there isn't one. Okay. Next one.
Ugh, I like this sentence. Ugh, shanta shawahik ʼatángi. It's like my head is full of your words.
Yep. Yeah, so that's fun. In the context of like this conversation, they were kind of laughing and they were saying like, someone says that, then maybe you're talking a little too much. But it could be a good thing too. Like, yeah, I've really been listening. Hey, next one.
Can you scroll back a hair so I can finish writing that sentence? Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Sure. And I am going to put this up as well. So it's good to take note if that helps you learn, but don't feel like you're going to miss it either, because I'll post this on our, so just to sort of, everything that we do, like usually I'll just post it in the kind of late after the kids go to bed. I'll go and upload the video to YouTube of our class. And then on tlingitlanguage.com under Learning Tlingit and Advanced Tlingit, I'll put the dates, a link to the YouTube video that says watch the class. Underneath it, I'll kind of summarize what we talked about. Then underneath that, I'll put any handouts. So including the chat from the class, and then also anything that we went over. So.
Gosh, sheesh, I just remember by writing.
Yeah, that helps.
I'm good.
Kunei, did you say something about that akshantu? When would you use that for my head instead of just aksha?
Yeah, so akshantu is like, a house could have shantu, that's the second story of a house or the top story of a house. And then akshantu is like the upper part of my head. So usually when you're talking about your thoughts or anything like that. So I can't remember the content. This was one that they were kind of laughing about when they said it. It was probably Achkwe who said it. You're probably not going to use it that often unless you were really talking, but like sha would be the whole thing. Shantu would be the part where your brain is at. So there's other, a hunter might talk about this to say, you know, I got it right through the head. And but yeah, so there's a really interesting thing too with sha, where there's an N that pops up on it. So like you could say akshan yanik, and so the N pops up for some reason, like maybe it's kind of there, but usually falls off. There's a couple of things that are kind of like that are interesting. So our kids, they got a bedroom, their bedrooms are upstairs. So I'll say, it's shantude nachtuat, and that's our code word for bedtime, right? So then the pleading and the negotiating and the crying. So we get all kinds. It depends how they're doing that day. So. All right, next one. We got 2 more pages. Who wants to do this one? Oh, there should be a W. Okay. Don't shy away from the long ones.
Tuwáa we ha'in kayanik at chakut at ha'in kananik.
Sheesh.
Is that like a watua or is it just a tuwáa?
Yeah, so tuwáa, but then if you put day in front of it, which I'll probably just make this short, just probably hear it long, but once you put day in front of it, or usually something that ends with a vowel, especially if it's just part of that verb phrase, it'll cause this to contract. So then you'll end up with, you'll say like deu tuwáa. And so that's something that's going to happen. So like if you're saying tuwáat, you say adeu tuwáat. Like it could happen there as well. We went there. Anybody want to take a stab at the interpretation?
It's something like, we already heard that. Tell us something else.
Yeah, well, we already heard that thing you told us. Tell us something else. So again, use it judiciously. If an elder is telling you a story, these could be your last words before you get voted out of the clan. But you know, just in terms of like, we were just thinking of stuff. Like I've probably told you all the same story 10 times, but it's such good. It's just better every time. I'm just kidding. But we're just thinking of phrases like, and it could be like we start talking about something like, oh, you already told us that. Like, tell us something new. And then the day, when day pops up before a verb, that means it already happened, right? I think we talked about this maybe on, maybe that was a different class. I get them, they merge in my brain sometimes. So deu tuwáa would mean we already heard it. So for example, let's say you got some kind of splainer in your life and you could say dechosaku. I already knew that. Dechosaku, right? And so like the day right before the verb means it's already happened. Okay. Let's see, hold on. I'm missing something there. Okay. Oh, there it is again. That, oh, I don't know why. I guess I was hearing funny on that day. Okay, now it's ready.
We're going to play something or something about we are going to play.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play.
Yeah, so let's this is a pretty loose translation. So yeah, I probably shouldn't have showed it till you're done talking. But yeah, it's like, let's play something. And once you put we should be thinking we're gonna get up and we're gonna move around, right? Because this ashkuchet is and it's probably this too. I probably didn't hear that one either. So this is what it should be. Let's play something, anything. So this is again like sometimes if you're in some Tlingit learning environments, we're all getting tired from sitting. Let's just, and so there's other phrases that you're going to see coming up too that are similar. Like, you know, sometimes you need to just change get up and move around, do something. What about ushke?
Bad.
What's that?
It sounds like bad.
Oh, well, that'd be ushke. Yeah, or it would need to have the klesh in front of it in some form. But this one, Has anybody heard this? The oosh is really interesting in Tlingit. I'll have to put some stuff together later in the semester, because there's, has anybody ever heard this? Klech uch oosh. Have you ever heard that?
Like,
it's toothless.
Oh.
And this one is like, what if? And so, but unfortunately, like, we were trying to get this list together, and Achkwe, she just brought it up, like telling us, trying to talk to us about how to use it. So I'll try and find some examples, because I know there's a couple others where like, it would have been good if, and there's a few other things like that that are pretty technical things. And then you use these little particles to do it. So I'll try and figure that out. And we might have to do some work with speakers and see if we can get a little bit more defined. Okay. Next one.
Hashagun kanach tuthnik.
Sheesh.
Our ancestors, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's tell a story about our ancestors.
Yeah, let's talk about them. Let's, so again, it's getting into this story. And this is one where it might be, they might put a dot in there sometimes, like hashagun dot, kanach tuthnik. There might be an SH that pops up in there at some point, but probably not in this case because we're talking about something. And so here's the L, like we're going to tell their story basically. So it's interesting. So that L classifier is moving it from news and information to narratives and stories. I feel like I'm missing a letter here. Achyi in kakwashanik. Hold on, I might have messed that one up. I'll tell you my history, my lineage. Okay. I feel like I'm missing something. I'm missing a word. Sorry. Achshagun yi'in kakwashanik. I'll tell you my history, my lineage. So shagun on its own is really interesting because it could be the components of something. Like if you took something apart and there's all the parts of it, that could be the shagun. The shagun could be its origin. Like I'll tell you how this cup was made. And then ha-shagun is complicated. Like I've heard it explained as our ancestors. I've also heard it explained as everything we've ever been, everything we are right now, everything that will become. And then Achshagun usually means like my genealogy is usually what Achshagun is.
How does it differ from like, you can say ʼatángi.
Yeah, so
right,
that would be on my mother's side. So now I'm going to tell you about her mom and her dad and relative. And so it's just sort of moving through the different parts of your genealogy. And there's usually, especially for Tlingit, there's the mother's side, which is your side. Then there's the father's side, which is usually a different side. Okay. What about this one?
Let's talk about our way of life.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I probably would just get rid of the ʼat. She might have said it, and maybe there's something that I don't understand going on there, but just in terms of hakusti dot kanachtushnik. That's probably what I would recommend saying. So there's, just so we're clear, there's no class on Monday. That's Martin Luther King Day, Alaska Civil Rights Day. So listen to some speeches from Martin Luther King. Think about the work that people have done and are doing in terms of civil rights. But we won't be gathering here. We will be getting together next Wednesday. So since there's just 7 minutes left, do we want to think about a theme or something to start our class off with so we can spend the first hour or so in Tlingit? Maybe we'll have like and we'll keep going through this. We'll make it through this list, and then I'll put it up even though it's still in a draft form. There'll be a version of it up.
Can I ask you a couple of quick questions while people think about a theme?
You bet.
What's the difference between ʼatángi and ʼatángi?
Yeah, so ʼatángi is my children, and ʼatángi is my little children.
Oh, okay.
So you're putting a little bit of endearment on there. Not that you're not with the other one, because they're your kids. It is. So that's that plural littles combination, just like ʼatángi.
Sure. Okay. And so I was looking at a sentence, askutu de wuat wewatsich. You don't need a hus there, eh? Is what I'm asking, but wuat tells you there's more than one anyway, say?
Yeah, there is. And if they were people, you'd probably have the hus there. There might be a case where you're going to say, askatute dachwuat. What's but those are some really fun, finer points. And I'm still trying to sort of, it seems like with Keishi especially, she tends to differentiate between human, non-human using the dach or the daqa. You know, sometimes you'll say daqati, they are. And so in other cases with some speakers on the coast, it seems like they're using that to say, like they might say, haswu'at. So they might say askatute haswu'at, which is just saying they went in there. And then they might say askatute dachu'at, and they might say all of those caribou went in there. So it seems to be, I would lean more towards like the human, non-human thing. It seems to be what I'm hearing but there's also some cases where they're just not pluralizing at all. And we know the verb is plural. And so that's just telling you like, and it could be a thing as well. Like it doesn't really matter how many, they just went in there.
Okay, I can see.
With Elizabeth Pradvich, well, Martin Luther King Jr. Day coming up, and oftentimes we talk about, civil rights leaders, and I noticed, I just wanted to share this really cool sticker. I don't know if you guys could see it, if it's clear. It's made by an artist, Michiana Elise Hutchinson, and she created it because they're both civil rights leaders, and I thought it was really cool, and I used it in class because a lot of times teachers, I'll notice in elementary, they'll somehow they always kind of pit them against each other and say, oh, but Elizabeth Pradvich did it first. And it's like, it doesn't matter who did it first. We have strong leaders that both fought for civil rights, and I just thought it was something really cool to share for with Martin Luther King Jr. Day coming up. So I just thought I'd share that.
Well, so with that in mind, maybe here's our theme: people who have done important work in the field of civil rights, like for a language, for getting segregation out of here. You know, we still got lots of problems, but like it's good to talk about who has done these things. So think about like courageous acts. People, you know, there was a time where I was driving Shakshani home and she said, they tried everything to get the language out of me. They tried to beat me. They tried to shame me. They tried to laugh at me. They tried to hurt me, but they couldn't get it out of me. And I was, you know, I was really inspired because we were talking about a bunch of stuff that had happened to her that was horrible. Just like really thinking about a 5-year-old child getting that sort of physical abuse from a teacher. So that's our theme, like heroes, people who just really did amazing stuff. And so we'll start the class with that as our theme, civil rights, fighting for things, enduring things. And so think about things that you might want to share with us. And as we do these types of exercises, find the things you can say and then find the things that you wish you knew how to say. And then you can either ask between now and then, or we can talk about it in class, and we might encounter stuff that we don't know how to say. We'll have to go find someone who can help us. But we'll start with that, and then we'll come back to this list, and then we'll look at a couple other things and sort of get us going. And okay, any other thoughts or questions?
My thought is that even if you don't know of a person that was in charge of a movement, to try and talk about some better way that people could live or live now because of other people's efforts in the past, even if you don't know exactly who it was, you know? Yeah. That sounds great. And it's really interesting too, like raising kids and like really trying not to speak English to them. There was a time like right around this time of year, and Kayana was maybe 3 or something. And I was trying to explain to her what Elizabeth Pradovich did and why. And it was very challenging to talk about this stuff. Like, and they put up sign, you know, tuwáa they didn't want Tlingits to go in there. And she got real mad. She said, well, I'm going to put up signs when I grow up that say, no English. And so that's how she related it to. It's like back to English. So it was really fun. I was like, yeah, you do that. So, okay. Sheesh.
Ne. Hey, Juan Plain. I was just wondering if I could talk to you. I probably could email you on the city of Wrangell is trying to figure out how to say something about the boarding school that was here, the Wrangell Institute. Well, it's not there any longer, and wanting to say something about it. And so I think I'm going to take that on because I think that was kind of like, and like Kashka was saying today also that that was where they broke the language. They broke the language, you know, they sent people there and they want to just name it after which tribe settled out there. And I think it goes more deeper than that. Mm-hmm. And I just don't even know what kind of what to say. And so I'm really thinking about it. And me and a couple elders are going to meet Saturday for coffee and talk a little bit about it, about what you could name that place out there. It's not there any longer. It's all grown over with alders. It's completely fenced off, but the beautiful waterfront is there, you know. It's so, and there's still some old buildings on the waterfront. And they had just gone through and did a Mariners Memorial down by Heritage Harbor, which is beautiful. They have an eternal light in a pavilion. They just did this. The city did it, and it's beyond. And my idea would be like putting up a kiosk with a plaque on there inscribed with what, you know, with an eternal flame or something, you know, nothing as elaborate or maybe as elaborate, but I'm right there at the, you know, I've not said anything sometimes when things come through, And I think this time something needs to be said. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I would agree. It's really important to recognize, like, I do feel like sometimes those things they just get minimized a little bit. And sometimes we do that. Sometimes other people do it. Like they'll say, oh yeah, it was bad, but boy, it could have been worse. Or, you know, there's all these ways that sometimes we sort of come to terms with exactly what we're talking about. And what we're talking about is children being tortured and being like forced into this assimilation. And sometimes it was, you know, I've heard people say, yeah, I went to Wrangell Institute. It wasn't that bad. But then you have other people say, yeah, I went, and, you know, they made this kid go out there and put his tongue on the pole in the wintertime because he was speaking Tlingit, you know. And so I think memorials are really good. And also, like, well, what now? Like, what's part of the healing process? Because in Canada, they had this huge movement where that stuff, they unearthed so much of that stuff. And you know, and I'm not exactly sure what's all come of it, but I know allowing people to tell their story and sort of putting that stuff officially on the record is important. And when I first met Michael Krause, he told me once we started talking, he said, you gotta go with those old people and get them to tell the story of what happened to them, or nobody's going to believe you, and get them to do it in the language. And so that's when I went to Marge and asked her to talk about what happened to her in that little school over in Douglas. And we've got a few things. I know Kasech used to talk about what she and Cyril and her brother went through at Sheldon Jackson. And so, and we don't have a whole lot. And Ida, she talked about this as well. She said, like, they never beat me up, but I had this teacher and she'd call me over all the time and she'd say, you know, you guys think you're as good as us, but you never will be. You're second-class citizens and you'll always be that. And I'm just thinking, like, who says that to a little teeny kid, you know? But these things need to be brought out because this is part of that history. This is part of that story. Because one of the difficulties is there's a lot of people out there who just honestly believe, like, oh, everybody just stopped speaking Tlingit because it wasn't useful. And English was useful, right? And it's sort of like, because I think those stories get squashed and don't get unearthed. And we had this conversation with the National Park Service in Skagway. We said, you can't make all your signs just about the gold rush and how cool it was for everybody to come here. I was like, you got to tell a few other things there. And they really rejected the indigenous voices. And we had to, luckily we knew some people, and we took some back channels who climbed the ladder and went up there and overrode them. But yeah, let's keep talking about it. And let's, there's some things that Marge said, like very specific. Maybe Wednesday, I'll just play the opening part of her, and I'll tell you folks about how she told me that story as well. Like, that's a whole story in itself. But okay, Digo Juan, Gilchi Shuhan. I hit the hang up button right away. Hoot.